Let's just kind of go through these quickly. So I have this. So those are all like terms, agreed? Like terms, same letter. Each letter has the same exponent. So I go 15 subtract 4 is 11. 11 plus 7 is 18x to the third. Okay, don't worry about the naming. Okay, we're not going to hit that. Number 2 looks like this. 2x minus 5, 3x plus 7. So I'm going to double distribute. So I'm going to multiply the 2 times both those. So I'm going to get 6x squared. A lot of you forget the squared term when you go x times x. You do get x squared. 2x times 7 is 14x. And then I multiply the second. So I get negative 15x minus 35. Combine those are like terms because they are both x's. So I get negative x minus 35. The problem's done. Question so far? Okay, let's just do this. We're going to go view. We're going to do dual display on. So we'll do that so you can see the problems that we had done. All right, problem number 3. We have 3x squared, x squared minus 4x plus 6. Distribute to everything. So 3x squared times x squared is 3x to the fourth. Remember, you add the exponents. 3x squared times negative 4x is negative 12x to the third. You have to remember that's to the first. And then 3x squared times 6 is going to give me 18x squared. Number 4, it looks like I'm just going to combine like terms. I have a plus sign. 4x to the third plus 5x minus 8. So because I'm adding, I'm just going to combine like terms. So I get x to the third and 4x to the third gives me 5x to the third. Notice the exponent didn't change because we're just adding. And then I have negative 3x squared. I don't have any other x squared terms, so that just comes down. And then I have 5x and 2x. If I combine those, I get 7x. And then my last is negative 8. That problem's done. Okay? Stop me if you have questions. Problem number 5. We have, I'm going to drop the parentheses. X plus 7x minus 11. You still with me? If I'm subtracting, I'm going to change the sign of everything on the parentheses to the right. So let me just highlight so you can see. This sign changed, and this sign changed. I dropped the parentheses. Does that make sense? I distributed the negative sign. All right, so then I'm going to combine like terms. So I get x squared minus x squared. Those cancel. 7x minus x, so 7x minus 1x is 6x. Negative 11 plus 6 is negative 5. Problem's done. We good so far? Next time you'll go to your D, okay? It's in slot number 3. Okay. Good? Number 6, I have x squared and then x minus 3, minus 4, and then x minus 3. Okay, so we just want to combine like terms. So I'm going to distribute over here. That gives me x to the third minus 3x squared. Distribute negative 4. There's no like terms to add together because they all have different exponents. It's done. Is that okay? Number 7, x plus 10, x minus 10. So x times x is x squared. X times negative 10 is negative 10x. 10 times x is positive 10x. 10 times negative 10 is 100. We have like terms. Those are like terms. They cancel each other out because one's positive and one's negative, same value. And there's our answer. Okay, so we are putting them back together on some of them. Some of them you would have to distribute or double distribute or drop the parentheses and combine like terms. Okay, so that's some of the first stuff that you'll see. Questions for me there? Okay? Copying down what you need? Okay. For 8 through 22, it says write the polynomial as a product of factors, meaning you're trying to figure out if you can factor things out. Look to factor out a greatest common factor first, if necessary. If the polynomial cannot be factored, write prime. Okay, don't be the kid that writes prime for every answer, saying I got some points. It's not that many. All right, so problem number 8. So 4x to the third minus 12x. Let me make that 12 look a little nicer. Plus 8x. Oops, I forgot a squared. Okay, so first thing I want to look at, 4, 12, and 8. What's the biggest number that they all have in common? 4. 4 goes into 4 once. 4 goes into 12 3 times. 4 goes into 8 twice. Okay, so I have a 4 in common. Do they all have an x? And if so, how many x's can I factor out? I can factor out a single x. Okay, if I factor a 4x out of 4x to the third, that leaves me just an x squared. Now you can go back and double check this. Is 4x times x squared 4x to the third? Yeah. Okay, then I'm going to factor a 4x out of negative 12x squared. So 4 times what number gives me negative 12? 3, and it should be negative, right? How many x's factor out? 1. How many's left? 1. Plus sign. 4 goes into 8 how many times? Twice. Are there any more x's to factor out? No. It's done. Okay? So, theoretically, this would factor a little bit further. So this 4x is going to come down, and our answer is going to look like this. But I'm going to go, okay, I'm going to go that times that. That gives me a positive 2. In order to get a positive, I need the same sign. So they'll both be negative because I have this negative sign here. 1 times 2. If 1 and 2 are both negative, if I add them together, do I get negative 3x? I sure do. Okay, so I'm going to do that work down here. So I'm going to go x squared minus 1x minus 2x plus 2. I can factor an x out there, and that leaves me x minus 1. This negative comes through. What can I factor out of those two? 2. And the signs are going to change because I'm factoring out. So negative 2x becomes x. Positive 2 becomes negative 1. Are these the same? Yep. So my answer is this. What do I have left? I have that and that. It's done. Okay? That's our answer. Okay, I probably won't give you a whole lot of those. Probably be one like that on the test, where you have a greatest common factor first, and then it goes further. Okay? Don't forget the greatest common factor is part of the answer on these. May I move on? Number 9, I have 6x to the 8th plus 8x to the 5th. Okay, there's only 2 terms. It's raised to weird exponents. What's the biggest number that goes into 6 and 8? 2. What's the maximum number of x's I can factor out of both terms? X to the 5th. Very good. Okay, because x to the 8th is x, 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 x. X to the 5th is x, 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 x. So I can factor out 5 of the x's. If I factor a 2 out of 6, I'm left with 3. If I factor an x to the 5th from x to the 8th, how many x's are left? 3, so x to the 3rd. Plus, if I factor 2 out of 8, I'm left with 4. And I factored all the x's out. It's done. You don't go any further. Number 10, we can squeeze down here. 60x to the 5th. Y to the 3rd. Plus 18x to the 4th. y to the third. Okay. The only thing to factor out here is the greatest common factor. So let's look at the 60 and the 18. What's the biggest number that goes into both 60 and 18? 6? 6 could work. Anything bigger? I think that might be it. Because the other numbers that go into 18 are 9, but 9 doesn't go into 60. 18 doesn't go into 60. So I like the 6. Okay? All right. So if I factor 6 out of 60, I get to 10. If I factor 6 out of 18, I get to 3. Okay, I'm not done with the problem yet. How many x's can I factor out between those two? 4 of them. So I get 6x to the 4th. If I factor x to the 4th out of x to the 5th, I'm left with just a single x. There's no x left on this one because I factored them all out. What's the maximum number of y's I can factor out between those two? 3. If I factor them out of both, there's no longer left. Now it kind of looks like a weird spacing, but that's our answer. Okay? Then we get to number 11. Number 11, we have x squared plus 4x minus 12. This is like back to our normal factoring. Put a 1 out front. Negative 12 times 1 is negative 12. In order to get a negative number, I need to have alternating signs. And I know that 1 times 12 is 12. I know that 2 times 6 is 12. And I know that 3 times 4 is 12. Which of those work, one being positive, one being negative, would add up to this positive 4? Yeah, positive 6x and negative 2x. If I combine those together, that would give me that. So in whatever order I want, make sure the signs go with it. So I'm going to go plus 6x minus 2x minus the 12. What do I have in common between those first two? X. That leaves me x and x plus 6. Negative sign, the middle sign is negative. What can I factor out of both of those? 2. So it's a negative 2 coming out. If I factor a negative 2 out of negative 2x, that leaves me a positive x. If I factor a negative 2 out of negative 12, that leaves me a positive 6. Those are like terms. Agreed? So I get x plus 6 and x what? Minus 2. I have the 2 left, right? Questions for me? May I move beyond? You guys done with 9 and 10? All right, so number 12. Number 12, I have x squared minus 10x plus 25. Factor it like normal. I have a 1 up front. 25 times 1 is positive 25. In order to get a positive number, they both have to be the same sign. Are they both positive or are they both negative? Both negative. Why are they both negative? You have that negative 10 there, so they both would be negative. So if you combine two negatives together by addition, they become more negative. All right, so I know that 1 times 25 is 25, but I also know that 5 times 5 is 25. Which of those work? Both being negative, add to negative 10. Yeah, those are both going to be negative. So I get negative 5x and negative 5x. Just make sure you bring the signs with it. So I get x squared minus 5x minus 5x. Bring the 25 straight down. Okay, negative 5x combined with negative 5x gives me the negative 10x. I have an x in common. That leaves me x minus 5. Bring a negative down. What do I have in common between those two? 5. Good. If I factor a negative 5 out of negative 5x, I'm left with x. If I factor a negative 5 out of negative 25, I'm left with a negative 5. So what's my answer? Got to be?
X minus 5, x minus 5.
Very good. X minus 5, x minus 5. It's the same two binomials. That's okay. It does factor. That's fine. Everything seem okay? All right, number 13. X squared minus 7x minus 44. Put a 1 out front. Negative 44. In order to get a negative number when multiplying two things together, plus minus, yes? So let's see. I know that 1 times 44 is 44. I know that 2 times 22 is 44. And I know that 4 times 11 is 44. Which of those, one being positive, one being negative, would add up to this negative 7? 4 and 11. Good. So it's going to be negative 11x plus 4x. If you flip the signs, that would be a positive 7x. We want to make sure it stays negative. So I get x squared minus 11x plus 4x minus 44. I have an x in common. Factor an x out, I get x minus 11. Plus sign comes straight down. What can I factor out of those two? 4. And I get x minus 11. What's my answer?
X minus 11, x plus 4.
Giddy up. We doing okay, friends? I'm kind of just drilling this through, okay? This is recorded. You're welcome to watch it. Nice thing it's on YouTube. You can double the speed, so my voice sounds like I inhaled a bunch of helium. If you choose to do that. Okay, 14. 2x squared plus 7x plus 6. Friends, is there a greatest common factor on this? The only thing I would think would be 2, but does 2 go into 6? It goes into 6, but it didn't go into 7, does it? All right, so I don't think I have a greatest common factor. So 6 times 2 is positive 12. My friends, are they both positive or are they both negative? Both positive. Everything's positive in the problem, so it's got to be positive. So I know that 1 times 12 is 12. I know that 2 times 6 is 12. And I know that 3 times 4 is 12. Which of those add up to 7? 3 and 4. So I get plus 3x plus 4x. Okay, this is going to replace that. So I get 2x squared, whatever order you want, plus 3x plus 4x plus 6. Factor an x out, and that leaves me 2x plus 3. Plus signs comes through. What can I factor out of those two? 2. Good. And that leaves me 2x plus 3. The answer is? X plus 2, 2x plus 3. Sweet. Cool. I like it. Still just kind of crashing through these. Number 15. We have 4x squared plus 5x minus 6. There's no greatest common factor. I mean, some people might say 2, but 2 doesn't go into 5 evenly as a whole number. So I'm going to get negative 24. In order to get a negative number, what do you know about the signs, my friends? Positive and negative. Very good. So I know that 1 times 24 gives me 24. I know that 2 times 12 gives me 24. I know that 3 times 8, and I also know that 4 times 6. All those multiplied together give me 24. Which of those, one being positive, one being negative, gives me an answer of 3 and 8? Very good. Okay, so it's going to be a positive 8x and a negative 3x. These are going to replace this. Whatever order you want, just make sure the signs come with it. These are like terms. You can factor a 4 and an x out. That's going to leave me x plus 2. The negative comes through. What can I factor out of both of those? Who? Negative 3. Negative 3 factors out, gives me an x. Negative 3 comes out as 6, gives me a positive 2. Answer is?
4x minus 3x plus 2.
X plus 2. Cool. Could I put x plus 2 and 4x minus 3? Sure. Same answer. All right. Number 16. 6x squared minus 11x plus 4. 4 times 6 is positive 24. In order to get a positive, I have to have the same signs. What are the signs? Both negative, because I have that negative 11, so they both have to be negative. So I know that 1 times 24, 2 times 12, 3 times 8, 3 and 8 work well if they're both negative, right? Good. So now I got negative 3x and negative 8x. So I get 6x squared. Again, whatever order you want. So minus 8x minus 3x plus 4. So I can factor out a 2x on both of those. That's going to give me 3x minus 4. This negative sign comes out. But look at here. The only number I can factor out of both of those is a 1. Is that okay? Sure is. Factor negative 1 out of negative 3x. That's going to give me 3x positive. I factor negative 1 out of positive 4, negative 4. Those are the same. That's what we want. Okay. Take a breather. Take 2 minutes. Tell a person next to you whatever you need to tell them. Ready? We're not going to do all of these because some of them you won't see on the test, but 17 might be one you definitely see on the test. X squared minus 64. This is one of the weird problems. What should I do? I don't have an x term. I have an x squared, I don't have an x, and I have a number. Yeah, very good. Put that 0x in there. Very good. Okay? So 1 out front. I get negative 64. What do you know about your signs? Positive, negative. What do you know about your numbers? They're the same. What's it? 8 and 8. Good. So I got a plus 8x and a minus 8x. That's going to fill this, the 0. Okay? Whatever order you want. Have an x in common. Bring that negative straight down. I can factor out a negative 8 out of both of those. The signs change. So I get x plus 8 and x minus 8. And we're all done. So that's the difference of 2 squares. 18's done the exact same way. But let's be careful on number 18. Ooh, this is a gotcha one. This is definitely one I want to put the 0x in on. But what can I factor out first? 4. Ooh, I have a greatest common factor. If I factor a 4 out, I get this. So friends, make sure this comes straight down. It's kind of a gotcha question. I'm not sure if I have one like that on the quiz or not. Or the test or whatever we're calling it. All right, so then I'm going to factor this middle part. So x squared plus 0x minus 4. Multiply 4 times 1, so I get negative 4. Alternating signs. What do you know about the two numbers if I get 0? 2 and 2. So I get, that's something. Plus 2x and minus 2x. So I get x squared plus 2x minus 2x minus 4. Factor out an x, so I get x and x plus 2. Factor out a negative 2. X plus 2, x minus 2. Okay. 19, 20, 21, 22. We won't see anything quite that complex. Skip them. Good? I know I assigned them. 23 you might see, and here's the problem with number 23. Be careful how 23 shows up on the quiz. Make sure you read the directions. Okay? 23 looks very, very similar to number 6. Agreed? Take a look at number 6. Number 6 directions were simplify, meaning we multiplied it out. Number 23 is under the direction saying factor. Okay? So this part right here looks like down at this region right here, right? So I have those in common. So I have x plus 1. And then I do have x squared minus 9. This is a gotcha question. If you got down to this on the test, I'm going to give you credit for it. But I will tell you that this part here does factor to x plus 3, x minus 3. I'm not going to throw something like that at you. It's unfair to do. Okay? That's something that they could save for later classes. Okay? So again, if you can get down to this part right here, if that problem was given, I would totally take that as you nailed it. Okay? Number 24.
It's like it's not real life, though. Like, there's more to life than just the fucking screen following and all that.
Kid looks right at me and decides to drop an F-bomb on his way up. I'm recording, so at 26 minutes and 8 seconds, kid in the hall drops an F-bomb. So now the editors of YouTube are going to flag the video.
It's got decisive language in it.
All right, so I have 4 terms, nothing to combine, but I can factor an x squared out of those. And that leaves me x minus 2. Agree? Negative sign comes down. You can factor a negative 6 out of both of those. I get that. So my answer is x minus 2 and x squared minus 6. Pretty simple problem to do. Things that'll hang you up on that problem is like, dude, but can I go further on x squared minus 6? Not in this case. All right, so we're just about done. Okay, I'm pushing through like wildfire on this whole stuff. So let me ask you this before I finish up. How do you know when factoring is enough, and how do you know when you would have to solve? What's the big difference between that? Equal sign. If there's an equal sign given to you in the problem, you have to take those 2 little parts and set those equal to 0 to solve it. If there's not an equal sign, you just factor it. Don't go and add an equal sign going, oh, stirrup, forgot. Okay? If it's just factoring, leave it as however it breaks up to. If there's an equal sign, then you have to take those factored parts and set them equal to 0. So, number 25. We have x squared plus 10x equals 0. It's equal to 0. We're solving it. I have 2 values that both have x, so I can factor an x out of both and get this. Now what? Yeah, I'm going to say that is equal to 0, and that is equal to 0. So one of the answers is this. The other answer is negative 10. Done. Okay, so it looks like factoring. This looks like I factored the greatest common factor out, but then I have to take the parts of the factor to set them equal to 0. So x equals 0, x plus 10 equals 0. And you just solve it. Yeah.
Okay, so say for instance, it was like a 7 or the 10 is. Do you just, like, to get the answer, or whatever it's called, you just use the opposite number.
Yeah, so this is the math that's really taking place here. It's a one-step equation. Those cancel, so I get x equals negative 10. That's the math that's taking place. But a lot of times you can look at it, if it's just x and a number, so if it's x plus a number, put the opposite of that number, negative. If it's x minus a number, then you put the positive of the number. That's as simple as possible. Okay, let's take a look at number 26. Okay. All right. I need to make one side equal to 0, so I'm going to add x squared to both sides. So this is going to give me 3x squared over here. Agree? I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. So that gives me negative 6x. And then it's equal to 0 because those all cancel out. Okay? Is there something I can factor out of both of those? X, anything else? 3x, good. And then x minus 2 is equal to 0. Set that equal to 0, so 3x equals 0. So you guarantee x is equal to what? 0. If I divide both sides by 3, 0 divided by 3 is 0. So there's one answer. And then x minus 2 equals 0. Add 2 to both sides. So x equals 2. $27. 2x squared minus 5x equals 12. Am I ready to start factoring this problem? No, it's not equal to what? 0. So in order to make it equal to 0, you got to move the 12 over. Those cancel now. Okay. Factor like normal. Negative 2 times 12, or negative 12 times 2 is negative 24. I know I have one positive, one negative. So 1 times 24, 2 times 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. Which 2 add up to negative 5? 3 and 8. So it's going to be a negative 8x and a positive 3x. If I add those together, I get negative 5x. Okay, so that's going to replace that. So I'm going to get 2x squared minus 8x, or I could have put plus 3x. I could have flip-flopped those and it's still going to work. I can factor out a 2x of both of those. That's going to give me x minus 4. Plus sign comes down. I can factor a 3 out of both of those. X minus 4. So I'm going to get x minus 4 and 2x plus 3. And they're going to be equal to 0. So I get x minus 4 equals 0. So x equals what? 4. So you'd add 4 to both sides. And then I get 2x plus 3 equals 0. This one's not as easy to do in your head. So subtract 3 first. Good. Divide by 2. Cool. Friends, I think I've given you an ample, wonderful opportunity to knock this out of the park. This looks identical, a little bit changed in difference than the test for tomorrow. This, in your best interest, would be to get this as much perfectly done Okay, so friends, this is 18 questions, which I know some of you say, that's kind of a lot to give for homework. This is the same length, in the same order as what you would see on the test tomorrow. Got it? I will continue my recording. So at the end of my recording, so after 34 minutes, I will have all the answers to this at the end of today's video. Worked out, okay? So it's in your best interest. Give it a try. Then, go on to YouTube. Yeah, you might have to let it buffer a little bit before you can move it all the way across. But you can double check your work on my video tonight or tomorrow morning as well. Cool? All right. Good job today, guys. Yep, hang on. Let me pause this real quick. All right, guys, this is the review that you have. I won't be talking a whole lot during these. The only thing I'd say on this is we can just start combining like terms because I have a plus there. because you have a negative sign here, that negative sign needs to go to all of those. These signs stay the same, but make sure you realize these signs change because it's subtraction. Then combine like terms. So those cancel. This one, make sure you distribute to all three terms. Make sure you add the exponents when you're multiplying. Double distribute here. Combine like terms. Done. This one, a greatest common factor, has a 6 and an x. If you factor a 6 and an x out, you're left with 2x and a plus 3. Done. This one has a greatest common factor of an 8x squared. If I factor that out of here, I'm left with 3x. If I factor that out of here, I'm minus 1. That 1 has to be there for a placeholder, friends. Remember, in order to get a negative number, we're multiplying alternating signs, all the factors of 24. The factors, one positive, one negative, that add up to that would be a positive 3x and a negative 8x. So this will replace where the negative 5x is. Make sure you hold the signs. You can put it whatever order you want. Just make sure the signs continue. Remember, these are not solving because there's not an equal sign. We're just factoring. In order to get a positive number, you have to have the same signs. Because there's a negative there, they're both negative. 3 and 7 are going to work to add to negative 10. If I add those together, I get negative 10. Put them in whatever order you want. Just make sure you bring the sign with it. Make sure you change the signs. This is one of the ones you're going to plug the 0 in there. Plug 0x. Multiply those. Positive, negative. In order to get that 0, it has to be the same number. So what times what gives you 100? That when subtracted gives you the same number, or 0, 10 and 10. So you get plus 10x, minus 10x. So plug those in whatever order you want. Make sure the signs come. Minus sign comes down, negative 10 comes out. Again, we're not solving these because there's not an equal sign on them. The only thing I can do on this one is I can factor a 2x squared out of both. That leaves me x plus 3. Done. Backside. All right, multiply that times that, so I get negative 14. In order to get a negative number, alternating signs, factors of 14 are 1 and 14, 2 and 7. 2 and 7 are going to work to give me that, so we just have to make sure we have the positive 7x minus 2x. If you flip-flop those as far as the negatives go, you'd get a negative 5x, so make sure you get the positive 5x. All right, so that's going to give me... Oops. Okay, remember those would have combined to give me that. Factor an x out of both of those. Negative sign comes out. It's a negative 1 that comes out on that and leaves me 2x plus 7. There's my answer. Okay, the big thing to remember is that is a negative 1 that factored out. Multiply two numbers together to get a negative. One's positive, one's negative. There's a 1 right there. So,
teaching real good today, all right?
Yep. All right, those are going to work. So I need to have a plus 6x and a minus 5x. If I combine those together, I get the positive 1x. Put those together in whatever order. Make sure the sign comes with it. Factor out of 3x. Negative sign comes down, negative 5 comes out. That's what you want, those being the same. There's our answer. Number 13. Put a 1 out front. We get a positive 9. There's no negative signs there, so both are positive. So 1 times 9 and 3 times 3. 1 and 9 will give you 10 when you add them together. So this is going to replace the 10x. Put them in whatever order you want. Just make sure the signs come along. These are solving, so we're equal to 0, okay? So I'm going to factor like normal. Factor out a positive 9, x plus 1. So it factors just like normal. But then, because it was equal to 0, we're going to set those equal to 0. So I get x plus 1 equals 0. Subtract 1 from both sides, so I get negative 1 is one answer. X plus 9 equals 0. Subtract 9 from both sides. All right, I need to make sure that 40 comes over, so I'm going to add 40 to both sides. Those now cancel, so I get x squared minus 14x plus 40 equals 0. Put a 1 out front. You get a positive 40. In order to get a positive, because there's a negative there, both sides have to be negative. So I get 1 and 40, 2 and 20, 4 and 10, and 5 and 8. That's all the ways I can get to 40. If they're both negative, these are the ones that'll work. So negative 4x minus 10x, that gives me the negative 14. Okay, so I'm going to get x squared, whatever order you want. Just make sure the sign comes along. I can factor out an x. That's going to be a negative 10 that comes out. So I'm going to get x minus 4 and x minus 10. But remember, it's equal to 0, so I want to bring that down. Add 4 to both sides. There's one answer. Add 10 to both sides. All right, number 15. All we can do on this is we have a greatest common factor. The reason we're not plugging the 0 in is because I have an x term. So I'm going to factor out between those a 4 and an x. That leaves me x plus 2. It's equal to 0. So set 4x equals 0. Divide each side by 4, so x equals 0. X plus 2 equals 0. Subtract 2 from both sides. Number 16. This is one we're going to squeeze that 0x in because we don't have an x term. So let's go ahead and factor it. Put a 1 out there. Oop, that should be a 25, sorry. So that gives me a negative 25. Alternating signs. Remember, I want to get to 0, so they have to be the same number. So I'm just going to use 5 and 5. So plus 5x minus 5x. Okay, so I'm going to get x squared plus 5x minus 5x minus 25. Factor out an x. Factor out a negative 5. So I get x plus 5, x minus 5. Remember, we made it was equal to 0, so we're going to set each of those equal to 0. So subtract 5 from both sides, so you get negative 5. Add 5 to both sides. Here's my two answers. Number 17. The trick on number 17 is we have a greatest common factor of 3. So we're going to bring that 3 out front. We're going to get this. Okay. Now I'm not too worried about this 3. It's not going to help us with the 0 at all. In the factoring, we're going to bring it down, but as far as the number goes, so I put a 1 up front. I'm going to get a positive 4. Both sides have to be positive because they're all positive. So 1 times 4 and 2 times 2. The 1 and 4 both being positive add up to the 5x. So I'm just going to factor this. That 3 is coming down for the ride. So I'm going to get x squared plus 1x plus 4x plus 4. Factor out an x. Factor out a positive 4. So I'm going to get x plus 1, x plus 4. So it's equal to 0, I'm not worried about this. It's not going to hurt or harm our problem at all. So subtract 1, there's one answer. Subtract 4, there's my other answer. And last one. Last one, notice they all have an x. Okay, so I'm going to factor an x out front. This will give us one of the answers. Okay, it's equal to 0. So I know that because of this outside x, x equals 0. That's one answer, so I'm going to box it in. And then I'm going to factor this. I have a 1 out front. It gives me a positive 10. All signs are positive, so positive, positive. 1 and 10, and 2 and 5. So I'm going to have 2x plus 2x plus 5x. So I'm going to get x squared plus 2x plus 5x plus 10. Factor out an x, so I get x from x plus 2. Factor out a positive 5. It gives me x plus 2. So then I have x plus 2 and x plus 5. Remember, we're setting those equal to 0. So remember, this is one of my answers. I already solved one of my answers. So x plus 2 equals 0. Subtract 2, I get that. X plus 5. Subtract 5 from both sides. Okay. Take a look at this. Remember, this one has 3 answers because it was raised to third. Have a great day. Take care of one another. Bye-bye.